Hi everyone. So in the last lecture we had missed out the jump label and jump subroutine stuff, so I got all that programmed in and I can go over all that stuff with you now. So as you can see, I created a ladder 3 named it SUBR, and if we open the ladder, it has one rung which has a bit 9.13 which would turn on. And I added a return. What this does is it won't finish the ladder logic, it would go back to where it came from. So it would come back and start scanning here. So the way it works is once I toggle the bit, this would turn on coming from the subroutine, which would turn on this. And here we go. Turn that on. This bit is on, which is part of the subroutine. It comes back out. And when the subroutine is not getting scanned, it's still on because nothing is writing to this, but I can go and toggle the bit off myself. If this was on, I won't be able to toggle it because it gets turned back on through the subroutine. So that basically means you're scanning this subroutine, and if you want to avoid scanning it, you can avoid it. And it can be called multiple times if you had. So let's say you have a valve control built up in the subroutine, you can just pass on a variable and call the subroutine, run through the valve control, and come back out whenever you need to. Okay, now on the label stuff, the way it works is you have to specify the label and specify an output based on the label on the top of your coil on the rung above here. And I'm just referencing the label back here. This is something if I want to jump to the label. So what this would do is this is your setup rung for the label, and this is if you want to jump label. So if I turn this jump label bit on, now the program's scanning this line and going back up to this line. So nothing else is being scanned. So if I want, I can turn off everything I want in the program. You see how when I turn this off, this did not go off because it's not being scanned. And I can turn everything off. So right now what's happening is program came down and it's stuck in a loop that nothing's happening. You can add some conditions in the middle. Once all the conditions are met, you can go out of your jump, and so you don't create a circle loop for itself and there is no output of the whole program. This can throw you off if you don't know how you set it up. So as soon as I take it off, all the bits would go back to normal. So this turned back on because there is no condition and it's on. If I toggle the bit, I can't turn it off. So that is how your jump subroutine and the labels work in this. You would need a jump subroutine if you have more than one ladder. So typically what would happen is you would have a main, and everything in the main would be like your flasher timers, and you can have an always on, always off bit. And then you would have jump to subroutine for all the other routines of your job because the program set up to this to be the main. The rest of them need to be added or jump to the subroutine and get called. So that's typical, and at that point you don't need a return on the subroutine. That return is if you have some more conditions that you don't want it to scan, you can just put a return. It would go back out to where it came from. So let's say you had 3 different conditions here in a row. When you scan to the first one, it wasn't true, it's going to scan to the second one, and if that condition's true, you can just do a return, which would get kicked out from here back to where it came from. It won't scan the third condition. So it's kind of like SQL. So if you have ever programmed SQL Server, and if some of the conditions are true, you jump to a label and exit out of your SQL execution, so it doesn't execute anything else in there. So all right, that should be it for this one. On the next one, we are going to go over a couple of ASCII instructions we have, like how to look at the strings and stuff like that. And we'll probably cover up the trig functions are pretty self-explanatory, so there's nothing to do there. So we'll go over a few ASCII ones and see how to use them. So, all right, I'll see you guys in the next lecture. Thank you.